Hello and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name is Jason Newland, and please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. Vinny is licking the sofa for some reason. It's currently 12 minutes past 6 a.m. I don't normally do them quite this early, but I thought, why not, eh? Why not? I'm actually in the process of rebuilding my website. When I say rebuilding, improving, making it better, making it more useful, easier to navigate, easier to find stuff. Yeah, so better, I would say. And I'm using ChatGPT to help me do this. So it helps me to find stuff, to change the pages so that first of all, that they're all kind of the same design. Also, that they're search engine optional, whatever, SEO. So they're more findable on the internet, on the search engines. Yeah, I'll go through it in a minute, what I've been doing, but I'm actually still doing it as we speak, because each time because I'm basically getting it to redo the code that's already in the page, and each one takes a few minutes to do. So yeah, yes, it takes a while, but ChatGPT is doing the hard work. My bit is just basically to give it what it needs, tell it what I need, and then give it what it needs to change, if that makes sense. And I know to some people this is probably the most boring thing I could talk about, but to me it's far from boring. It's actually exciting. Because if I'd have had these tools available years ago, yeah, I like to think that I would have been able to do more. Well, I would have been able to do more, but would that also be more that I could have just changed or destroyed or whatever, because I've got a habit of building stuff and then tearing it all down again. Or I used to have a habit of doing that. My plan now is really to try and stick to, well, if something's how I like it, then I'm probably, there's more likelihood that I'm going to keep it if it's how I want it to be. And my website has never been how I wanted it to be, ever, in 20 years. Now it's kind of starting to look and feel like I wanted it to. And I was never really able to do it before. I could do parts of it, and one of the benefits I mean, I've talked about this before, but one of the benefits that I've really kind of, not that I've got over other people, because there's probably millions of people that know how to read code, but I can edit the computer code, the website code, to a degree. You know, I know how to edit a little bit. So, in a sense, I mean, technically, it means I don't have to rely on the AI to do everything, because I can then change it to how I want it to be, rather than, you know. So when it comes to like adding links, changing links, images, things like that. Yeah. Does that make sense? I think it does, kind of. Yeah. So before I start, I do want to say a big thank you to 3 people. First of all, Nicole. Secondly, to Cheryl. Why is my website just dinged? Did you hear that? Ding. And thirdly, to Jennifer. Thank you, all of you, for your kind PayPal gifts. Very, very much appreciated. I feel wanted. Thank you. So thank you very much for that. Also sending out my love to everyone that listens. And also, obviously, a constant shout out for Molly, the administrator for my Facebook group, the Jason Newland's Boring Group, and also for Boston Chicky. Hope you're doing okay. And anyone else? Perhaps I should just do a shout out, just go through all the members and just like, hey, but that would take longer than the recording. What I'll be doing with this recording today, I'm going to go through the website, just let you know some of the things. It actually might be useful if you like listening to my stuff. Might be useful. It might not be. You know, there's possibilities either way, but I think it might be. Might. So let me just. We had a bit of rain yesterday. The air was fresh. It was like, oh. So this is what it's like. I'd forgotten all about rain. Nearly 56 years living in this country. A very, very rainy country. And we go a few weeks without rain, and suddenly like, oh, what was it like? Do you remember when that stuff that used to come out of the sky used to drop down and make you wet? What was it called again? What, the water stuff? Yeah. Oh, rain. You're thinking about rain, aren't you? Oh, yeah, rain. Oh, do you remember those days? Remember, it was lovely, wasn't it? Oh, we need some rain. Oh, I miss the rain. No one tells the truth today. We hate the rain. What do you mean, miss the rain? I could name probably one time in my life that I enjoyed walking in the rain, and that was on a summer's day. Really, really, warm summer's day, it's raining, and I'm soaked through. And I was in a bad mood that day as well, which is why I was walking in the rain. Just walking in the rain. ironically, I had a kind of a relationship issue, and I bumped into the person I was having a relationship issue with, and we were both getting wet. That's all I remember of that particular memory. It's a bit of a stationary memory, like just standing in one spot talking. I remember the exact road. I pretty much remember what I was wearing. It would have been a silk shirt, probably black, and jeans, because I used to wear jeans back then. I don't know why. Jeans have never been comfortable. Why did I wear jeans? Never comfortable. Yeah. I mean, once, I'm probably talking 16, 17, the fashion was to buy jeans, get into the bath, so that I think they were 501s, and they would literally stick to your legs. They would shrink, so you couldn't get them off, and you had to wear them till they wore down off your skin. You had them on forever. I've still got them on now. It was ridiculous. You know, I needed help to get them off. And it wasn't, okay, it was because they were tight on the legs. But the main issue was the feet. Couldn't get them over my feet. Struggled to get them on my feet to start with. Not on my feet, but over my feet to start with. That'd be me getting muddled up between jeans and shoes again. Don't get many shoes made of jeans. Jean material. Oh, by the way, Vinny's underneath the desk, chewing on one of his toy things. Toys. Right. Just need to quickly do something, because otherwise I'm gonna confuse myself. Oh, okay, done. It's fine. No, wait a minute. Yeah. That's the problem. I can't do more than one thing at a time. It's weird, isn't it? Because our bodies are doing multiple things all the time, and our brains are doing multiple things all the time. Our eyes are looking at multiple things if we can see. Our ears are listening to multiple things if we can hear. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Talking to you and trying to juggle these kittens is very difficult. Meow, meow, meow. So today is Friday the 21st of August 2026. Friday 20. Did I say Thursday or Friday? Friday 21st of August. So my birthday, blimey, can you believe it? I'll be 56. Why am I focusing on this birthday more than last birthday? I don't know. Because 55 is in some ways more prominent than 56. Not that it's really a prominent birthday. I mean, 50 is, isn't it, I guess, as a marker. You know, I think in this country we kind of go as far as marking a birthday. I think 13, because you become a teenager. Then 16, 18, 21 seems to be kind of markers. I suppose 16 because in this country, in England, where I live, there's certain things you can do at 16 that you couldn't do before that age. One of which would be get married. Actually, you can get married at 16. Pay tax, all of those kinds of things, you know. I mean, someone once said to me, if you're old enough to pay tax, then you should be able to do anything within the law. And I kind of agree with that. But you can't get a mortgage at 16. You can't drive a car at 16 in this country. The vehicular laws are at 16 you can drive a moped. You can drive a car on private property at any age. So if I was born on a farm, I always think of being born on a farm, Superman. Do you know when they find him in his little spaceship, his mum and dad that live on a farm, and he grows up on the farm? But me growing up on a farm wouldn't mean that I had superpowers like Superman at all, really. I don't know why I associate farms and Superman. But then you wouldn't need a car, would you? Because you could fly around. It's got to be very difficult being Clark Kent. Can you imagine? I mean, I don't think they play. Maybe they do, because there's been a lot of different Superman TV shows and stuff, as well as the movies. But do you imagine if you could literally pretty much do anything? As far as physically, pretty much do anything. You're surrounded by people. You live in a big city, so you can't really do anything too odd because people are going to notice, which is weird because in London I've seen some of the oddest things ever and no one cares. And I think it was during the Christmas period, I'm on a bus and we stop at a bus stop and there's a lady standing there, and we're talking a cold period, December's normally very, very cold. She's standing there in a dressing gown eating an ice cream or an ice lolly or something. It's like that's the kind of stuff that is just normal in London or big cities. And I'm talking as if I know what it's like there now. It might be different now, but that's what it used to be like. It was just unusual things that aren't as noticeable as they would be in a town or a small town or a small village or in the countryside. And I've lived in all those different places, so. But then you've got smaller cities like Liverpool or Newcastle, Luton, or Leeds, any of the ones, pretty much, Manchester, that are smaller, busy in the centre, but from what I've seen on YouTube, there's some fairly unusual behaviour in those places as well. I guess it's anywhere, isn't it? It's not really. It doesn't feel unusual though. When I was in London, it was unusual when I first started seeing things that were very different from what I was used to. But it was not used. It wasn't different from what was inside my mind. So seeing someone eating an ice lolly in the dressing gown, in like -2, -3 degrees, is not that unusual in my mind. It's it's interesting, maybe amusing, maybe I wonder where they are mentally, you know, or that's just what they like doing. Maybe they've lived their whole life in the Antarctic, and this is like a summer's day to them. It might be, you know. I mean, that whole going out in your dressing gown and your pyjamas, I've never done that. Like, I mean, in public. I mean, other than, I suppose, to put the rubbish out. Got to put the rubbish out the front. Yeah, I might have my dressing gown on in the past. I can't remember the last time I actually wore a dressing gown. I do have one now. My friend downstairs had both my dressing gowns at one point. I don't even know why he had both of them. Oh yeah, someone stole his dressing gown, so I gave him mine. And then one day he came up here, because he used to love being, like, topless. And I think he was up here and he was cold, so I let him borrow my dressing gown, like, while he was up here, and he went downstairs with it, and I never saw it again. I remember when his family came and, like, looked at the flat. They said they're going to have to order a skip for all the dressing gowns. We rolled around laughing. No, he only had about 500 or 600. He liked his dressing gowns. The thing is, on him it was loose. On me it was tight. Thanks, Vin. It's a difference between me and he was very tall. Well, I say he was tall. I mean, I'm pretty short for my height. He was tall. I'm wide, like, in comparison. Although he was wide as well. I don't know how to explain it. But so my clothes, we didn't swap dress and swap clothes and stuff. That sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? But so he gave me a cardigan, and it fitted me fine. The sleeves were too long, but because he'd had it when he was a lot bigger, because he lost a lot of weight over the years. But he had it. This is from, like, quite a while ago, and it's a designer cardigan. I think I've still got it. Just reminds me of him, so I kept it. It's a nice. He didn't wear it because it was too big for him. So he let me have that, and then I let him have my dressing gown that was baggy on him, but the sleeves were too short. It was funny. This, honestly, like, if I get an ordinary dressing gown, I generally have to roll up the sleeves if I do washing up, because I don't have long arms. I'm not what are those dinosaurs with the tiny arms? That's me. So it put on the dressing gown, so the upper body, it'd have loads of room, you know. So it'd be loose around his waist because he was very slim, and his upper body, you know. But his arms, the sleeves would be up to pretty much his elbows. We're very, very, very different body shapes. It's weird, but I think we both wanted to be a little bit like each other, because he wanted to get more weight on him, because he used to be a lot heavier when he was younger, and I wanted to be taller. Now, he's the one that had more chance of succeeding than I did, because I can't, you know, obviously. But, you know, I think when he was older, even when he was younger, he was always slim, but he was just bigger, because he was tall, you know, because that's the thing with tall people, like really tall people. they can weigh quite a bit without looking like they've got an inch of fat on them. Because just the bones alone are heavy, aren't they? Now, I've never weighed someone's bones. I'm not a bone expert. You know, I mean, it's hard to... Yeah, no, I've never weighed anyone's bones. But I realised that about myself because I was so slim when I was younger. And the body weight, as I kind of got big, got older, put on muscle and some of the other stuff that I don't like to talk about, it sounds like fat. And my bone structure was clearly built for this type of body. It's weird. You know, for years and years when I was younger, it's like I wanted to be a bodybuilder, I wanted to have big muscles, I suppose I wanted to be like my dad, because he was big and stocky, or still is. He wasn't a bodybuilder, but he was just naturally big and strong. And I didn't think it was because of my dad, like I want to be like my dad, but maybe inside there was probably, I suppose, a little bit jealous, because, not jealous, it's not the right word, but yeah, I suppose I did want to be big and strong. And both my brothers are much taller than me. One's like about 5'4", 5'5", 5'4", 5', 6'4", 6'5". Blimey. I mean, how tall are you then? If you're raw tall as really tall brothers 5'5", what are you, 3'2"? No. There's a certain difference, like my other brother, he was over 6, probably maybe 6'1". It's a guess. I never measure. It's a weird thing, isn't it, measuring your siblings? I never measured him. You know, never woke up one day in a bed like, what are you doing, Jason? What are you doing that tape measure? You know, I wasn't, nothing weird like that. I didn't measure them, but when someone's like 6'4", 6'5", when they stand next to me, they look huge, lengthwise. They really do. And nearly all, I don't know, I've noticed a lot of people slouch. My brother used to slouch. Maybe he was self-conscious, I don't know. I'd love to be tall. I'd love to be 6'5", 6'6", 6'9", 7". I mean, yeah. I'd probably get annoyed with some of the comments, you know, like people say, oh, what's the weather like up there? That would probably get a bit tiring after the first 30 years. But there is, you know, the only time I ever felt tall in my life, no, twice. When I was counselling, I used to go, I had 3, what did I have? Apart outside of private practice, I worked for Mind. I worked for a children and charity, where it was like a young person's charity counselling. So I did those as well. So that's 3 different places, included my own place. And I also did another place which was a subsection of Mind, and it was for children. And it wasn't technically a counselling position, but they were only employing counsellors to do the job. So what my job was is to go into schools and sit for an hour or 50 minutes, whatever. Not necessarily just sit with them, but be with a kid who's got problems and they don't know what's going on with the kid. Whether it's behavioural problems, or maybe the kid's just stopped interacting, whatever it might be. And I think I went into about 6 different schools. It took forever to travel between them because I didn't have a car. So relying on buses, it was, in some ways, it was my favourite job, the favourite thing I'd ever done, because it was rewarding and it was fun, and it was, it's kind of what I got into counselling for, that and the working with the kids at the youth charity. I guess I wanted to I wanted to be what I didn't have, to be, to be able to help kids, not necessarily in the same position that I was when I was little, but just, yeah, to be someone that I would have perhaps benefited from meeting or spending time with when I was maybe 5 or 6 or 7. You know what I mean? So that was, I think, becoming a counsellor, or training to become a counsellor, it wasn't a straightforward process of like why I was doing it. I mean, part of the reason was, I'll have a drink of water first. Ooh, water. I got a delivery a few days ago, and they delivered everything but the water. And that was really the only thing that I really needed, because it was a hot day. I needed the water, because I get through a fair bit. Why don't you drink it out of the tap? Why don't you shut up? So I suppose for me, the reasons why I fantasised about becoming a counsellor many years before I did it. I want to say I fantasised, I mean, I just imagined what it would be like. Yeah, we know what fantasise means. No, I want to be particularly descriptive of this one, because you can go different directions with the word fantasy, can't you? I wondered what it would be like to help people, and I'm talking from the late 90s, long before I got into, not long before I got into hypnosis, but because I got into hypnosis in 98. But long before I was doing the free service that I do, before I started doing this stuff online. And yeah, so I because I was reading, I had quite a few Carl Rogers books, and also, what's his name, Gestalt therapy, Jungian, Freud, Whitaker. Then I had the Richard Bandler stuff. I'm just trying to think what other, Viktor Frankl, various different kind of psychotherapies, counselling, kind of stuff that I was just interested. So I was interested. I thought that it would help me by reading that stuff. It would help me internally. I'd absorb it, and natural changes would occur. Natural positive changes would occur. But I did also read it from the perspective of being a therapist one day, doing that. But I didn't really expect to ever do it. And I suppose the circumstances came, the stars aligned, as it were. and I was in a position to do it. I'd looked into it. I'd started so many different training courses that I didn't complete. I mean, the only courses I ever really completed was the NLP and hypnosis courses up to that point. And so I suppose one of the main reasons, okay, at the time I'd lost my job. Well, they'd forced me out by saying go full time again or leave. So I left because I'd been ill, so that's why I was on part time, and it just suited me better. I could never be full time. I just for whatever reason, it just didn't. Just too lazy, maybe. I'm not lazy at all. If you saw how much stuff I do here, you'd think, wow, he watches a lot of television. Wow, he eats a lot of chocolate. He doesn't do anything. No, I do. A fair bit, actually. Just a lot of it is behind the scenes. So you can't, well, I can say you can't see me doing it. You can't see me doing this, can you? This might not have really happened. How do you know it's real if you can't see it? Ooh. So the circumstances kind of came right in a way. It's like, okay, well, this is the beginning. No, it's probably about June time. And I thought, I'd already been looking at the course online. I think I maybe had not the magazine, no, I did. I had the university magazine of courses at home. So I knew which course I wanted to do, which was the university course was counselling studies, but the first 2 years was person-centred counselling diploma, which meant that I'd be a qualified counsellor. And then the final year was the degree part, that turned it into a degree. So I didn't have a job. I signed on for a little while without the intention of staying signed on, because I decided pretty much as soon as they sort of gave me that ultimatum to leave or go full time. Plus they were like laying people off, and the place closed down about a year or so later, maybe a little bit longer. So I kind of looked like the place was going. So I thought, it's not really an investment to stay. I'm just going to be in the same situation in a year or two. So I thought, no, I'll take a gamble. And I was very lucky because where I was living, because I was in the Buddhist community, so I knew that if I didn't have rent for a few weeks, I wasn't going to get kicked out. They needed the money, they needed to pay the rent and, the mortgage and stuff, but I knew that I wouldn't, they'd be kind, which I think is valuable. So, because in a way, my landlord was a close friend, so, made it a bit easier. But I did pay the rent in the end, but there was a few weeks waiting. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, basically what happened to start with is, because I was volunteering at both a alcohol charity and a drug rehab place. So I know I've told this story probably a few times, but not today. Never today. Not today. It was ages ago. Ages. Because basically the previous year, so I started university in, I guess it was September 2007. I became unwell at work in, I think it was around August 2006. Maybe I'd been kind of doing a bit too much outside of work, because from January, as well as building my new website, I was doing the free pain relief service, and I was started making recordings, and so there was a lot going on, and I was doing the, basically this whole thing started in the beginning of 2006, and I was seeing people in real life as well, doing therapy and hypnosis anyway, not counselling. And doing a free pain relief service, going to people's houses, handing out thousands and thousands of leaflets around the town for the free pain relief service, which I was doing during my lunch break, after work, before work, weekends. So I was kind of knackering myself out, to be fair. So I think I was even working on a website while I was at work. The works. Did I say work site or website? I was working on a work site when I was at web, and yeah, I kind of, it was a bit too much. Yeah, there was a few bits. It wasn't just that. It was just a few bits going on. But so I got a bit unwell. But I had a couple of weeks off or whatever. But then they allowed me to go back part-time, which then it worked out perfectly for me, because when I went in, I worked hard. I got a lot done, because I knew I didn't have to be there for long. So I'd go in from 9 till 2, something like that. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. So I think 5 hours a day. Perfect for me. Absolutely perfect. It wasn't perfect for them, though. So, yeah. I mean, that was one of my... I look back on it quite fondly, actually. Why does fondly sometimes sounds weird? Look back on it like a bit of a fondle, in a fondly way. Fondly. Never thought about that before. So yeah, I really made use of that time when I wasn't working, which made the days... I was still probably doing a bit too much, but I didn't have to rush around. So I'd finish work, and it got to the point where I would... Because at this point... Because I started off at a place called Norcas, which was a alcohol charity. They also dealt with... gambling as well. I don't know if they're still there or if they changed what they deal with, because what I've noticed is sometimes charities, they change the client base based upon what funding is available. So they might have a bunch of counsellors, but if there's no funding for alcohol, then they might start to see people for relationship issues, or for maybe military, or it could be. So I guess they have to go where the money is. And I started off there on a Monday evening. This is like early in the year, 2006, while I was still full time. So I was going there one evening a week on a Monday, and I started off by doing a course, and I was doing 6-week courses where I was basically doing some hypnosis, some NLP, some exercises to help people to kind of move away from and cope with like not drinking and stuff. And at the end of the night, we did like a half an hour, 40-minute relaxation session. Then I started recording them and putting them online. And or uploading them onto the podcast. That's right. Anyway, I'm a little bit muddled what happened in what order, to be fair. Because sometimes I think that when we started doing the CDs, which would have been early 2007 or late 2006, we kept running out of CDs, so used to give people who was sort of saying, "Oh, I like the relaxation groups you do, but what about when I'm not here? Can't listen to your voice when I'm not here, can I?" I said, "Well, I thought you heard voices. Can't you just change them to me, one of them to me, and relax yourself?" I didn't say that. And someone said, "Why can't you make a CD? Can't you make a CD?" And I thought, no, because I'm thinking quality-wise, no, it's going to be rubbish. And it was rubbish, but people liked it. So what I did is I did a CD of a live recording, converted it to CD with the help of, and this was at the alcohol charity. So we did that. This was early 2007, I think. And started handing out the CDs. But they kept going. Honestly, they were doing like 20, 30, 40. Just printing them themselves, getting blank CDs and just printing out a cover and just putting them in. And they just go. People would be taking them. And in the end, they just said, "This is too expensive, so we can't do this anymore." So then that's when I felt like really got more into, okay, I need to start putting them onto my website, the recordings. So that's when I started putting all the live recordings I'd previously done, and then started to make recordings at home a bit more, like more often. But I was already doing it previous in 2006. But it was I guess the podcasts that I was putting online, it wasn't for people that I knew. That was more, I don't know, it just seemed different. Knowing the people that were listening, it was a bit more, because if you just like this recording, I know that no one pretty much that I'm contacted with in real life is going to be listening to this, which means, like my dad, I can swear and say naughty words like poo and willy, because I know that my dad's not going to be listening. If you are, Daddy, I'm sorry. I said naughty words. Please forgive me. Please. I'm only 55. I can't help it. God, as you told me off for swearing the other day. The grandkids are here. I said, the grandkids. No, I didn't. I said, was like, I'm 55, he's 80. Oh, wow. I'm still getting told off. So yeah, I think one of the reasons I wanted to do the counselling course was it was an opportunity to get a degree. And I didn't really believe that I was ever going to get a degree. Yeah, I left school with 0, less than 0. You know, I've been watching on TV, on the news, that young people now have to keep redoing the exams until they pass. And I kind of thought about that, and I thought, well, why? Once you leave school, that's it, isn't it? Who's going to drag you into school to take an exam? And what's the punishment if you don't do the exam? What, you're going to be put in prison for not turning up for an exam that you don't want to do anyway? That flummoxed me. Now, I understand, you know, if someone fails an exam but they need it to complete the course, and they need that course to be completed for the, you know, the diploma or the qualification, so that they can move on with their education somewhere else. But it was just like a 16-year-old leaving school, and they got no interest in academic stuff. Why should they have to redo it? I mean, I literally, and I'm not saying this is a good idea, but I didn't even attempt to, apart from maybe English, but I still didn't win that one either. But I didn't put much effort into, well, not even to pass the exams, but even, you know, I just scribble and write stuff on it and just fill in the answers, multiple choice questions, and I just tick. I wouldn't even read the questions, I just tick whatever. You know, A, B, C. I just tick, all the way through it. Like 50 or 60 pages, tick. And I figured that, you know, if I just tick randomly, there's a chance that I could get a good grade. There's a chance. I was wrong. I got the worst grade in history. And I've researched this, I've travelled the world, and it was the worst grade in the whole history of education. But, yeah, I didn't care. I just didn't care at the time. Back then, I wasn't interested in school or getting qualifications. I mean, as it was, we used to have basically CSEs, O-levels and A-levels. CSEs and O-levels at 16, or in the 5th year. We didn't have year 3 or year 6, none of that. We weren't, that's all kind of Americanized. That's been going on for quite a while now, but we didn't have it like that when I was at school. So when I started high school, it was the 1st year. Then the 2nd year was the 2nd year. 3rd year, 4th, 5th. In the 5th year would be the first lot of exams. I don't know if the mock exams were in the 4th year or earlier on in the 5th year. I forget. But anyway, I didn't do O-levels. Now they've got GCSEs, which has been, for decades they've had GCSEs. But when I was there, it was CSEs or O-levels. O-levels were for the more academic people. CSEs were for less academic people, I guess. which meant if you did a CSE, well, if you wanted to do A levels, which would be, the next year, I think, you would have to pass your O level. CSEs didn't lead anywhere. It didn't really. It was just, there you go. It was like a consolation prize, I guess. It's like, well, you attended. You turned up. There you go. And to go to university at that time, you needed A levels, like a certain amount of A levels that were relevant, I guess, to the university subject that you wanted to study. So it's quite precise. It's very mapped out very, very easily, just sort of like, so you know what you had to do to get where you wanted to go. But I didn't want to go anywhere. So there was no map for me. There was no... I guess there was no future. It was just foggy. It's like looking into the fog. That was... Apart from Christmas... The night before Christmas, it was still kind of foggy in the future, but it had a lot of Christmas lights in there as well. It's a lot brighter and cheerful. But I didn't really kind of think about the future, as in what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. I didn't imagine living in my own home or having kids, getting married, having a car, a mortgage, just having a good job. I didn't think of any of that stuff. The kind of things that I used to think about was, I'd focus on, when I was at school, it was karate. The last couple of years of my schooling, all about karate and training and hitting a punch bag and practicing my kicks in the garden and lifting weights, and just that was the only thing I was really interested in. And I suppose if I was to do anything, there's two... Yeah, I think I wanted to go to... Where was it? It was Australia, and become a monkey boxer, which was a style of kung fu, monkey boxing. Have a little bit of water again. So I had a collection of martial art books, which would actually show the styles of kung fu, and it'd map it out so you could practice, and so I used to love all that stuff. Monkey boxing, that's what I wanted to do. And I suppose for me it was fantasy. There was no reality in the future, it was fantasy. So I'd kind of daydream of going to Australia and rolling around on the floor like a monkey. Yeah, it never happened. Funny enough, didn't happen. But I had no academic dreams as such. Well, no, at all. But I did like the idea, as I got older, of having a degree. Just not necessarily doing the degree. I think the only thing that appealed to me about doing the degree is to have 3 years without having to go to work full time. That appealed to me. Just to have a break where I could focus on something that I was interested in. And that's kind of what I did, but it wasn't the counselling I concentrated on. It was this, making recordings, making videos. That's what I focused on while I was at university, as well as, you know, the coursework and the training and the, you know, the counselling part. But it freed my time up to do this stuff. So that was, in some ways, they were 3 good years. It wasn't, you know, all good, but there was some good parts of it. So I suppose it was kind of like a dream. I never expected that I would ever get a degree. Just basically, well, based on my past academic inability. But what I did is I applied for the course. I lied. I said that I had A levels, but I didn't have any access to them because, well, I said I had O levels and A levels, but I didn't have access to those because they were all destroyed. And I explained that I lived on my own at 15, and, you know, I didn't. The life was a little bit up in the air when I just, you know, when I left school. When I was doing the exams, while I don't think I was even living at home at that time. I might have been. I lose track. I was working full time at the chip shop, I know that. Had to have a bit of time off to go and do my exam. So I'd turn up, and the rules were, I mean, the exam lasted for maybe 2 hours, but we could leave every time the bell went, you know, because the bells were on, was it every 40 minutes or something? So every time the bell went, if we'd finished, we could leave. So I would just finish it and then just wait to leave when the bell went, and just hand it in just with a lot of nonsense on it. Now, if I had my time back again, you might think I'd say I'd put more effort in. No, probably not. I just wouldn't have turned up, which I didn't to a couple of the later exams, because I started realising, why am I turning up? I've left school. I've literally left school. I'm not at school anymore. I'm working full time. I've got nothing to do with school. What are they going to do? Are they going to come and arrest me? They didn't. And why was I sitting there for? Because, you know, I had to wait 40 minutes to the next bell, and I'd be sitting there, and I'd have the exam done within about 3 or 4 minutes, just randomly just ticking here and putting weird answers, and that was it. I'm not proud of this, by the way. A little bit. No, I'm not. It, you know, yeah, it just is what it is. It's just what happened, and it's not the right way to do exams, obviously. But I started thinking to myself, why am I sitting here waiting in this big hall, loads of people, still writing, and I'm just sitting there waiting for a bell to go? Why am I just sitting here? I think that the time before I actually didn't turn up anymore, I just said, I'm going to the toilet, and I just didn't go back. And I realised after, like, a few hours of hiding that the police weren't going to come and get me. So I thought, okay. And there's nothing, they didn't care. It was done, wasn't it? It's like, probably didn't even, but they wouldn't have even noticed. There's a lot of students to deal with. They wouldn't have noticed a couple missing. So, I mean, obviously I have to have a register. They'd tick everyone off and stuff. Newland. Here, miss. Or sir. I used to like to misgender the teachers. That's one of my hobbies back then. Call the lady teachers sir and the male teachers miss. Not all of them. Definitely not all of them, because not all of them would play. But my maths teacher, definitely call her sir. Yeah, I used to call her a lot of things. We didn't get on. I think she wanted to be, I guess she wanted to be a teacher, and she wanted to be in charge and in control of me, and it wasn't going to happen. I think she struggled with that a little bit. Yeah, I just didn't, just wasn't my thing. I know I mentioned it before, but only 3 teachers I liked during high school. 2 of them were RE teachers, the religious education teachers, and the one I had for the first couple of years, he retired, and then the one that replaced him, she was lovely as well. So they were both lovely. And in the first year, my maths teacher, Mr. Johnson, he was lovely. But then I think he got ill or something, and he didn't come back. But he was the very, very first teacher when it came to an academic subject. I didn't really class RE as an academic subject. It was compulsory due to, at the time, living in a Christian country. So we used to sing hymns at the beginning of the day in an assembly. We used to, so it's just, it was kind of spread throughout the whole school. It was just back then, most schools were Christian schools or Catholic schools. What was my point in that? What was I saying this for? Oh yes, the RE teachers, they were just quite chilled out, really. The maths teacher, Mr. Johnson, he literally, I remember, I was just like sitting there, and he was explaining something to me and making it much easier. I remember his big beard was tickling the back of my neck, and eventually he said, I'm getting a bit uncomfortable here, can you get off my lap? He was lovely. I really liked him. So friendly. He had this hair. I know a lot of people have hair, but it was more like a lion's mane, and it was fine. I don't mean that like, whoa. I just generally very fine hair, and it was quite long, probably down to his shoulders, and he had it back, and it was just really perfect. And his big beard, lovely big beard. I like big beards. I don't know what it is. I think there's a safety in it. My dad has a beard now. Never used to. Well, he did used to when he was young, but then I think that became unfashionable, or his wife at the time said no more beards. So before I was even 8, I think, or maybe 8, he shaved it off. I remember he came downstairs. This is my dad, not my teacher. He came downstairs and we were looking at him, me and my brothers, and there's something about him that was weird. He said, "Well, have you noticed anything different?" I said, "Is it the bucket on your head?" He said, "No." My brother said, "Is it because you're standing in the toilet?" My dad said, "No." "And how would I do that if I was downstairs?" My brother said, "Well, there is a toilet downstairs." And my dad said, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I keep forgetting about that house." You see, it makes sense in the story, but you've ruined the story by kind of doing this. It's a bit of a distraction to be moving around like this in a story. You need to kind of just tell the story as it was. And my oldest brother said, "Yeah, but that isn't really how Jason does it, is it? In his podcasts, he moves around, doesn't stay static in a particular story, and that can cause a degree of drowsiness and calmness to fall over a person, to calm their mind, because they realise they don't have to listen if they don't want to, which is potentially a nice thing. And I looked at my oldest brother thinking, what are you going on about? He's shaved off his beard, isn't he? Because I think what my oldest brother was doing, he was yabbering on while he's trying to figure out what my dad had done different. And what is weird, because once we realised he'd shaved his beard off, we rolled around on the floor hysterically laughing. Now, I don't remember why. I don't know if I was doing it because my brothers were doing it and I was just copying them like a little monkey that I was, or if my dad just looked silly. Well, silly, you know, as in like so different that it was funny compared to how he looked before, or the fact that, more likely, the absurdity of not noticing something like that. And it's not like he didn't just have a little beard, he had a big bushy beard. The kind of beard you just want to grab hold of. And there's a degree of, you just feel safe being around it, you know. As a little kid, I used to hold on to his beard and he'd walk around, and sometimes I'd actually hide in his beard. I didn't. Why am I saying stuff like that? It's weird. So that first year of living with my dad and his new wife, because I didn't know my dad before the age of, just before I was 7. And I mean, I'd met him when I was a baby, I guess, but I didn't remember him. And I was basically like a little baby for a year. I was tiny, so I kind of got away with it. But I was the baby of the family for a year until my little brother came along the day before I was 8. So I used to ride on my dad's shoulders, you know, do the old giddy up, holding onto his hair and his ears, and my dad was so patient. And then sometimes he'd have to kind of let me off, you know, said, "Oh, you're getting too heavy now." I didn't realise that he had a bad neck, like really bad neck from an injury, you know, previous. And my dad was probably absolutely not enjoying it at all, especially having his ears pulled. I I don't think anyone enjoys having their ears pulled. Giddy up, giddy up. Remember I was on his shoulders once and I said, I said to my dad, can you take me to the sea? He said, well, I will walk you to school on the beach. I was on his shoulders. He said, it'd be easier if you actually get the other way around because I can't see. So I got round and he said, if you face the same way that I'm facing. So I did that and that was easier for him. So I was on his shoulders and I was faced the wrong way so he couldn't see where... Because that's a really silly... No one would do that. Because it's just absurd. You know, the visual... You sit down, you get on the shoulders and you face the way the person... If you're a little kid, you don't get on the shoulders. It's just the silliness of it, you know. Just I can't be bothered to explain it. And what else? Yeah, I used to sleep on my new mummy's on her lap when we was out in the car. And go to sleep and cuddle up to her. That was nice. And I used to get in the bed with them, try and crawl in between them. I was like, honestly, I was like a little baby. I hadn't done any of this ever, probably in my life. And suddenly, I mean, I was 7. It's not like I was old. But I was probably quite old mentally for a 7-year-old. Not educationally, but just... quite streetwise, I suppose, because I had to be. And I regressed to being a baby, basically. I mean, not literally. It wasn't like, mama, mama, dada. I wasn't any of that stuff. But I was very clingy, especially to my new mum. I mean, in a way, I was like a monkey. Just keep coming back to the monkey idea. I was like a monkey, I suppose, when I was on my dad's shoulders. Hitting them on the head. Giddy up, giddy up. I was like a little monkey. I was about the size of a little monkey. Wow. That was my favourite year. Probably the favourite year of my life, that was, between 7 and 8. It was just... It was a happy year. Generally. It was just, you know... Yeah, special year. Special. Oh, my website. I'm half fallen asleep now. I think I need to go back to bed for a little bit. So my website, here's what I've done, right? It's at jasonnewland.com. When you go onto the first page, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 boxes. About this service, let me bore you to sleep. Send me a PayPal gift, latest recordings, podcasts, stream podcasts, podcast apps, Facebook group, social media, and contact me. That may change in the future, but that's what I've got there at the moment. So if you click on about this service, about this free service, it just goes through, you know, who I am and how long I've been doing it and all that stuff. Okay. The next one is the Let Me Bore You to Sleep. So that takes you to all the episodes that you can download. So there are 1,652 different recordings that you can download for free on the Let Me Bore You to Sleep. Some of them have just one recording. Probably at least the first 1,000 do. After that, especially all the latest ones, have 6 different recordings, all included in the free download. So, but there's 1,652 to choose from. So you can just go down and just literally you can download the whole lot if you want. It's all free. And then the next one is so send me a PayPal gift, just a bit of information on what I do and why I do it and stuff. The next one is latest recordings. So whenever I upload a new recording, it will be on that page in a playlist. So there's a playlist there of 2,240 episodes, 14,280 hours and 35 minutes. So if you played it, it would continue playing for 14,280 hours and don't forget the 35 minutes. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, a lot of recordings. The next one is podcasts. So here's a list of all my podcasts, a little bit of information about each one. So let's click on Let Me Bore Your Pain Away. So again, it takes you the same as with the Let Me Bore You to Sleep before, with the 1,600 different recordings. So I got 43 different Let Me Bore Your Pain Aways. The same kind of thing. Some will have just one recording, some will have all 6, depending on how many I had saved. Anything new that I do will have all 6 recordings. And what's another one that to relax the stress and panic attacks? 205 recordings. So yeah, so that's one. All the different podcasts are there. So Let Me Bore You to Sleep, Deep Sleep Whisper, Jason's Bedtime Story Time, Let Me Bore Your Pain Away, Relaxation for Stress and Panic Attacks, Relaxers Sleep Hypnosis Daily, Jason Newland's Sleepy Boring Objects, Stop Nail Biting, Stop Smoking, Stress and Pain Relief, Breaking Free from Control and Manipulation, Chronic Pain, Healing from the Inside, Q&A Friday, Sleep Hypnosis, and lastly, Requested Recordings. So that's cool. So that's all the different ones, and you click on those and it will take you to a list that you could just download for free. All for free. Then you've got stream podcasts. So this is basically, it's the same podcast as I just mentioned, and you can click on it. On this one I've got the Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply, because that's a podcast on its own. With the other ones, it's a mixture of podcasts that all go on to Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply. So you can click on that one, and it's basically an embedded player, which that'd be exactly the same as latest recordings. So that's there, and you got 14,280 hours. But if you was to click on Let Me Bore You to Sleep, 8,115 hours, 1,723 episodes, but that's including the 6 versions of each. Still quite a few, So there's a lot there. So that's the stream. So basically the stream podcast, it's the embedded player within the website for each podcast. The podcasts link takes you to the actual recordings where you can download. Podcast apps, this is something that we've had a few issues with over the years, but I've tried to sort it out now. If there's a podcast you like and you want to know where it is, if you can't find it because Spotify maybe it's got too many of the same recording in my name that it might not be playing properly, or just, it's hard to find it. If you go to this one, which is podcast apps, that's the page, there's going to be more, but at the moment there's Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser. I haven't got SoundCloud, so maybe I need to do that, but there's only 2 recordings on SoundCloud that I could, it's up to, I was going to say it's up to you, I could do that. I fell asleep while I was talking then. So what I got is, say if I click on Apple, for view podcasts, it's all the podcasts that I mentioned earlier. So I click on, let's go to Relax Sleep Hypnosis Daily, click on that one. And that takes me to the Apple page for that podcast. Or if I want to see Let Me Bore You to Sleep. Let Me Bore You to Sleep. Listen on Apple Podcasts. Let Me Bore You to Sleep. And I can play it there. So, and it's the same for all the different apps. So it's the same list, all my podcasts on all the different apps. So let's say, Podchaser. Go on a Podchaser, and I want to watch. Maybe that's where I have I want to listen to the Let Me Bore You to Sleep on Podchaser because that's my favourite thing, and it comes up. And then what you can do is you can subscribe or follow. Yeah, and do it from there. So it's all good, really. I mean, there are more podcast apps out there, but these are the main ones at the moment. As far as for me. So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 9. So it's 9. But I can probably add another 10 or 20 possibly. But I don't know how many of them will have all of my recordings on there. But, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, definitely the 2 main ones out there. I don't know how many of mine. I mean, I'm going to have to sort of every now and then just check the links to make sure it's all on there. Listen on Spotify, listen on Spotify. Listen on Spotify? Oh, okay. Interesting. Listen on Spotify. Oh. By the looks of this, they're all available, apart from one. How strange. So, if you're struggling to find stuff, see, this is what I don't understand. Like, the Spotify one has not updated, so it hasn't got the one that I did last. It's got the one from the 10th of August, but it hasn't updated to the last one I did, and I don't understand why. Because it's definitely been updated, uploaded. I wonder Wow, 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 wonder. But yeah. And that's it, really. So I'm gonna... well, it's not it. Let's see if there's anything else I need to show you. I mean, I might have to do some fine-tuning along the way, but that's okay. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know, just to make it... Oh, brilliant. I managed to... Really? I managed to come out of everything, lock myself out of everything. That was not my intention. I mean, really, it was not. I can't tell you how much it wasn't my intention to come out of all the websites that I was using, and I had a lot going on, and now it's all been... It hasn't deleted what I was doing, but it makes it a little bit more, not quite as easy to find what I was doing. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Right. Hopefully, if I go to pages... Oh, okay. So, Castbox. Just check that that's all done. It's all done. Yeah, it's all done. That's cool. Right. I'm tired. Yes, I am. Right, well, thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.